WNKR.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
WNKR.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Those are the words that have opened the broadcasts of WNKR on Sundays for the past 4 years. This weekend, although the station has been on shortwave 4 years, WNKR is in fact celebrating its 7th year on the air. From its humble beginnings as a late-night FM broadcaster, when the operators returned drunk from the pub at weekends, to a high-powered bank holiday pirate station covering North Kent, South Essex and East London, to the transition to a Europe-wide broadcaster on shortwave as Free Radio's #1 Sunday morning pirate. So, how did it all start? Here's station manager Dave Martin.
Well, back in about 1987, there was a few of us. I built this transmitter. We've been trying to build a transmitter for a number of years, and we finally got one that actually did the job. And we thought we'd set about putting it on air. And previous to 87, we've been sort of calling it all sorts of weird names, like a few that I can't actually say on air anymore because they're a bit, offensive would be the word. So we came up with the name sort of Magnum Radio, but a few of the other people on the station thought that we should call it something different, something that sort of pertained to the area. So somebody came up with the idea of, because we were in North Kent, they came up with the idea of calling it North Kent Radio. I said, we can't do that because there's a station down the road and they're calling it North Kent Radio already. So we thought about it, and then somebody came up with the idea of West Kent Radio, and I said, no. What about North West Kent Radio? So we sort of agreed on that idea for a while, wrote it down, and I said, if we juggle these letters around, it sort of looks like, it looks like wanker, to put it bluntly. So we thought, Western North Kent Radio, WNKR, but it didn't sort of really roll off the tongue as well as WNKR, so we dropped the A, and it seemed less offensive, basically. So WNKR was born in 1987. Somewhere along there is a story, something about Central Line International Transmitting Corporation and the Alternative Radio Service of Europe, but I'm not quite sure where that fits in, but those names were not chosen and forgotten for obvious reasons. So that's about it, really. That's how it started, and we got together and came on the air.
WNKR.
Well, WNKR first came on FM as WNKR in around about 1987 from my house. And we decided that was a bit too risky. We used to go out to the pub and talk about putting the station on and how we'd go up the tower block and put it on. But then when we get back from the pub absolutely pissed out of our heads, we'd sort of think that it was, nobody had a car at the time and we couldn't be bothered to go down to the tower block, which was like miles away. So we just put it out from my house again. And it was getting a bit too dodgy, so we decided that rather than sort of keep risking getting nicked, we'd put it on just on bank holidays or something. So as every bank holiday approached, we'd get it all together, all the equipment together, and we'd get up on the tower block, set it all up, get the studio in somebody's flat locally or something, and off we'd go. And that's what we did in the start.
The WNKR in those early days, the studio I remember was an absolute nightmare. It seemed that Dave Martin and Sam the dog had gone to the local boot fair the week before, the Sunday before, and bought the biggest load of junk you could ever lay your eyes on. It was terrible.
78 sound of, what's his name, the Doobie Brothers there on Western North Kent Radio, and that's What a Fool Believes. Is this what you were telling me about? I mean, this is really slow, you know what I mean? Oh God, I love free radio. I tell tell you what, I do not honestly believe this. This is ridiculous. I said these record decks were playing up and I just did not believe them, but this thing's running on, I don't know, it's on 45 but it's running like very, very slow. I think I'll have a few CDs handy here. Okay, never mind, Western North Kent Radio, 4 minutes past 10 with June by Ez.
What we used to do was set the studio and the link transmitter up on the Saturday afternoon. We all used to sort of congregate round the flat where the main studio was, and we'd spend 3 or 4 hours in setting the studio up. Once all that was working, then we used to fire the link up, and Dave Martin would wander around with his handset making sure the carrier was clean. It never was. I mean, let's be honest, it never was. There was always problems. And then there would be problems with RF from the link transmitter getting into the studio equipment. So to cure that, what we used to do was, it was a bit of a tedious job, which took another hour or so, was to unplug all the leads, all the phono leads, and wrap ferrite rods and ferrite rings around the leads, which eliminated this hum that normally appeared on the carrier. And sometimes we had to sort of put tons and tons of these things on the mains as well, because the RF would get into the mains and everything would buzz. So I mean, it was a right arduous job, I tell you, at times.
There's Mel Brooks, to be or not to be.
Man, I'm doing fine.
We're listening to Jackie and Tony on the control. WNKR 91.8 FM. Now we're going to have a bit of reggae from Pluto Dax.
Once all the studio was in and working, and Dave Martin and Sam were quite happy with the way it was sounding, we would wander off down the local tower block with the aerials all on the top of my van and a van full of transmitting equipment and link receiving gear. This would normally happen around 10, 11 on the Saturday night, and we'd take the lift up to the top of floor where we could get onto the roof of this particular tower block. And we would first of all put the aerial up. Now, going up on a roof with Sam the dog is an absolute nightmare, because he wears these great big boots and he clunks around in these things all over the roof, and it's a wonder nobody ever heard us up there. So once the aerials were installed, we would then go back down to the motor and bring up the offending piece of equipment. Dave Martin would install it, and bang, WNKR was on the air.
WNKR 91.8 91.8 91.8 91.8 WNKR 91.8
From August 1989, WNKR could be heard every bank holiday, on FM only. But it wasn't until August 1990 that the station moved on to shortwave.
Now, the story about why did WNKR go on shortwave was very interesting, to say the least. Now, I believe it was August 1990, the bank holiday weekend, sort of 4 years ago this weekend as it happens, funnily enough. And we decided to go on with a rather large transmitter, and it was down at the local tower block, 91.8 FM, which was our usual frequency at the time. And Andy Walker had made himself, made a bit of a nuisance of himself by that time, and he'd appeared on the scene, and he kept saying to us, well, aren't you going to sort of put it out on something else? I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, medium wave, short wave? Short wave, I said. What's the point of putting it on short wave? Who's going to hear that?
Dave Martin's exact words to me, and I quote, "Is it really worth it?" Those are his exact words to me, and I think he had a big surprise actually when we put the shortwave on along in parallel with the FM, because the mail that came in a few weeks later was absolutely phenomenal.
Rob Marshall said, we could put it up in his back garden and put it out from his back garden if we want to give it a go. So I said, well, I can't see the point in it, but we'll do it. We'll do it. So we did that, and Steve May, a famous person, I can't tell you why he's famous, but he said you can borrow our cell phone and take phone calls. So we gave the phone number out over the weekend quite a few times on 91.8 and 6275 shortwave, and lo and behold, all the phone calls we were getting were from shortwave. Not one, I don't believe, from FM, just shortwave. So I thought, God, this shortwave isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It seems like quite an interesting experience.
WNKR
91.8 FM.
That bank holiday transmission was a major success. With 150 watts on FM and 50 watts on shortwave, WNKR was slowly turning into a superpilot with 48 hours of non-stop broadcasting. But the setting up of the shortwave site on the Saturday afternoon didn't go without problems. Andy Walker.
First time WNKR went on shortwave, it went without a hitch, to be honest. It was a terrific broadcast, it was a terrific August bank holiday broadcast, except for the Saturday afternoon when Dave Martin and I bowled round to one of our DJ's house, Rob Marshall. He said we could put the transmitter in his back garden, put the error up and broadcast from there, you see. So there's the three of us standing in the garden, you see, with my firing can and catapult, firing this line from Rob's garden over the roof of his house into the main road, trying to not hit any cars, you see. And after about 3 attempts, managed to get the string up over the roof of his house. And at the other end of the garden, he had this tree, you see, which behind it had some garages. So I fired this line into the tree, and the line got stuck, which basically resulted in me going up onto this garage roof to retrieve the other end of the line with the weight on it, and subsequently I fell through the roof of the garage.
So he's up there and sort of he's trying to tie the string on that, and he's walking about on the roof of this garage. And I'm sort of looking down at this line, and I'm sort of winding it in. And I said something to him, and I heard a funny noise. I looked around, and he'd gone. I go, where are you? Where you gone? Like, you know, what's happening? You all right? Where are you? And he disappeared. He'd fallen straight through the roof of this garage.
I think the garage belonged to a roofing firm, because I almost fell into one of these great big vats they knocked the tar up in. And I got it, Dave, I said, Andy, where are you? All right? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm all right, I'm okay, nothing's broken.
Suddenly this bloke appears. What have you done to my garage? You broke on the roof of my garage, I had the police on you. I said, oi, shut your mouth, mate. I said, my mate's just fallen through the roof of your garage, and all you're worried about is what's your garage roof like? I said, he could be dead in there. With that, Andy Walker appears. He pops up, no, I'm all right. You know, and he climbs out eventually, and this bloke's still going on about his route. I said, oh, for Christ's sake, you know, sue me. You know, and off he went, he walked away, and that was the last we heard of it, really. But Andy Walker was all right, and he's carried on the same ever since, really.
I think at the time it wasn't one guy who actually came running around, it was about 8 of them. All these big guys who were obviously roofing, what are you doing in my garage? And I thought, oh dear, I think I'm a dead man.
WNKR beats making lager commercials.
Originally, WNKR used Andy Walker's own shortwave rig, but after a weekend of broadcasting with floods of phone calls and around 80 letters received, Dave Martin set about building his first shortwave transmitter, with a view to putting the station on shortwave on a regular basis. But problems for the station were just around the corner.
I set about building myself a transmitter. Never built a valve transmitter or a shortwave transmitter before in my entire life. And we got ready and, well, we came on air.
WNKR.
Right, yes, so I built a transmitter. It's a single 807 valve thing, and I went and got a crystal. Went up the Edgware Road to Henry's in London and bought a bag of crystals, and there was a 6400 crystal in there. So I put that in the transmitter, tested it out at home on the 12-volt power supply, and everything seemed great, sounded lovely. So on the Sunday morning, the 11th of November 1990, myself and Sam the dog, Sam the man, we pooed off down the road with the transmitter, car battery, and the old shopping bags, went into the woods, threw a big weight into a tree and pulled the aerial up, connected the transmitter up, sounded great, shot back home. We were listening away, and then it started to sound like somebody was pouring buckets of water over it. It was going bubble, bubble, bubble. It sounded like we were underwater, basically. So we ran back down there, and, well, basically what it was that the battery was going flat quicker than I anticipated, and I hadn't quite set the transmitter up properly, and didn't realise that as the battery would start to go flat, things wouldn't start to operate properly. So really we sounded like we were going underwater, but I believe that we were actually heard that day, and reports previous to the bubbling were quite good. So anyway, that was the end of the broadcast for that day, but we went back and modifications were made, and we tried again, basically. So after that first broadcast on 6400 kilohertz, we ran about 18 watts of power. A few people have said that 6400 was not a good choice because it was too far out of band and there was noise on it, and you know it wasn't a good choice. So old Sam the dog, he went back home and he hunted around and he found a crystal 6315 crystal, or 6316 as it turned out to be. And we put that in the transmitter, and after we made all the adjustments, the following weekend, on the 18th of November 1990, we went back down to the woods and we put the transmitter on, and this time everything went okay. And well, I think we took phone calls, and I think we got quite a few calls coming in, and the letters came back. And after that, things seemed to go okay. We didn't go on again until the 2nd of December 1990, but again we were on 6316. And by now I've built a new transmitter as well, a 50 watt one, in a big blue box, an old Marconi box. And we decided to wait and not do anything from the 16th of December until New Year. So on the 30th of December 1990, we were ready to go on with a new 50 watt transmitter on 6316. But also we decided to go on 25/720 AM and 91.8 FM. But that was a bit short-lived, wasn't it? Because that first day, which I believe was a Saturday, the DTI went up and removed the 25/720 transmitter and the 91.8 from a tower block. Yes.
I remember that raid well, actually, only because I was on the air at the time. It was, I'll never forget, it was about 20 minutes past 3 on the on that Saturday afternoon, and I was at the decks doing a live program, and everyone had gone down the pub except for me. I was on air, and my wife, or as she was then, my girlfriend Michelle, she was sitting in the other room reading a book, you see, and the headphone level, the pre-fade level on the mixer was so bloody low to queue up jingles, I couldn't hear it. Because I had the radio on in the studio, monitoring the FM output. So I used to turn the radio off when I wanted to cue stuff up and then turn it back on. I'll never forget turning this thing back on, and all I was getting was a hiss. And I thought, what's happened here? Have I knocked the tune and I'm messing about? And Michelle came running into the room. She said, it's gone off. It's gone off. So I opened up the mic and said, if the engineers are listening up the pub, you're listening to shortwave, it would appear we've been raided. I'm going to close down as a security precaution. I immediately killed all the power in the studio, ran into the front room where the rig was, the link transmitter was, and threw the switch. I said to Michelle, whatever you do, don't open the door to anyone unless it's Dave Martin or Jackie or somebody like that. I'm going round to Rob's place to turn the shortwave transmitter off in case they're on their way around there, the DTI. I mean, we assumed it was a DTI raid at the time. And I got literally to the top of Rob's Road, and I bumped into Dave Martin, and we pulled the plug on the shortwave transmitter, and in fact I think we put it on the following night, which was the 31st of December 1990, to do a live broadcast on 6316 that evening, and in fact we did not only a live broadcast, but all the WNKR crew were up the pub, and we did a live outside broadcast during my show, actually from the pub.
WNKR.
I'd always wanted to do a New Year's Eve type broadcast, and the New Year's Eve 1990 gave me the opportunity to do an over midnight thing into the new year, and I had the extra added bonus of it being the last day before all the pirates became illegal, because the 1990 Broadcasting Act was going to come into effect, and we were going to go through the midnight hour and flush this bill down the toilet.
It's WNKR, Western North Kent Radio, transmitting on 6316 kilohertz in the 48 metre band. My thanks there to Sam and an excellent music programme for New Year's Eve. It's Andy Walker taking you through to 1 o'clock this morning with some get up and go-go sort of stuff from 1990. And we've only got 55 minutes to go before the new year and 55 minutes to go before the new broadcasting bill becomes law, so stay tuned. Does it? Excuse me, Sam, my record deck's not working. Oh, yes, it is. What do you expect from a pirate radio station that got raided on Sunday at 3:25? But we are back, and we are back with a bang. It's nighttime broadcasting from WNKR.
Well, it was on New Year's Eve. We were all in the pub and waiting for, saying Old Lang Syne and all that, and the transmitter went off here. And, why did the transmitter go off here? I don't know, he says, but soon found out. I ran from the pub, just about midnight, I ran from the pub and went up to where the transmitter was to find that the time switch had gone off. Some wally had set it wrong. Yeah, that wally was me. What a prize pillow. I was absolutely completely out of breath. I legged it all the way up the road and then run all the way back in. And I mean, we've been doing a live outside broadcast from the pub as well as having somebody in the studio. And I was completely knackered and out of breath and everything, but we were back on anyway, and that went quite well. We had a hell of a lot of letters for that broadcast. I remember having a tape recording sent from Italy, which was absolutely phenomenal from the middle of the night. I could hear myself clearly talking away inside the pub as it was being done live, and you could hear on this tape, this bloke in Italy must have wondered what the hell was going on.
It's WNKR, it's Western North Kent Radio, on this New Year's Eve. Hello up the pub, are you there? Come on back to me. Come on, talk to me. You just came in a minute there. Are you there?
Yeah, right, we're here. Yeah, Sarah just turned up the pub. And he's live. He's live here. And we've got Fuzzy Duck back here. We've got Robbie Marshall. Happy New Year. That's Fuzzy Duck. And Rob Marshall. And it's good evening from Rob Marshall on WNKR. I love you all. Good evening, Rob. I reckon he can't hear you, but I reckon he's heading out of it. There you go. We've got Sam and Dog down here, and he's actually videoing this conversation. Amazing. I see it. You should see the scenes tonight down here. It's better than Trafalgar Square. It's amazing.
That went down quite well, and we haven't really done anything like that since. I wonder why.
We head towards midnight with Suzanne Vega and Tom's Diner. It's Western North Kent Radio. Stay tuned.
I had a funny feeling, actually, something was going to happen that evening, because when Dave Martin and I installed the transmitter around Rob Marshall's place, he set the time switch, and he said to me at the time, he said, I can't remember quite how to do this. I think if I set it this way and I set it that way, it should stay on and not go off. So I said to him, look, just leave the thing out of line and pull the override switch. We'll walk round here later on when we're finished and switch the rig off manually. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure I've got it right. Everything should be okay. Anyway, I distinctly remember at 2 minutes to midnight, there I was all prepared to do this big speech about the broadcasting bill and everything, and suddenly the rig went off. Just before the end of Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. I knew knew what had happened. I knew he'd set the timer wrong, and apparently Dave raced around there and fired the rig back up again, retuned it, and we returned to the air. I think it was about 8 minutes later. The whole thing really did throw me out because I was already with this big speech and everything, and I just couldn't think of what to do.
We're back on the air. Oh dear, we're back on the air. WNKR. Happy New Year to everyone.
All I could do was just say Happy New Year and play George Harrison's Ding Dong. All my speech and everything went straight out of the window.
This is Western North Kent Radio, broadcasting on 6316 kilohertz. Happy New Year to everybody. And Happy New Year to our Chief Engineer man. Are you there? Come in. Talk to me.
Right, hang on, so just got an ear in, hang on.
We had trouble with our time switch. He switched our transmitter off, didn't it? No, we weren't hit again. Thank Christ for that, even though I'm an atheist. What's he doing here?
Right, we're in now, we're in. Okay, we're in.
You're in?
Right, we're in. Oh dear, what an outside broadcast this has been.
What a joke.
Well, what it was, I got to say, the technical term for it was, balls up, right? That was the technical term. Got to excuse the feedback, yeah? But, right, the technical term was a balls up. I set the actual switching unit to the wrong day. We thought it was Tuesday, but it's actually, we thought it was Wednesday, but it's actually Tuesday. Never mind. It's all okay now, so there you go.
Nice one. Well done, my man. Get back to the pub and finish your beer off.
I'll tell you what, I think by the time I get back to the pub, I'll be finished off. I'll tell you, I don't know about drinking a beer, but never mind. Right, I want to say a big Happy New Year to everyone that doesn't know me, and anyone that does know me, God, shame on you.
Go on then, or do you want to wait until you get back? Get your second breath.
Well, I can hear you better now. I've taken the antennator to switch off my receiver. It comes in a lot better. Okay, get you back to the music there. What's the next track coming up then?
It's Madonna and Vogue. Out there. It's Madonna and Vogue. Okay, we'll wait until you get back to the pub and we'll bring you in when you get back to the pub. Okay. Back on the air after our time switched our transmitter off. No, we weren't ready for a second time this weekend. It's Western North Kent Radio. We continue.
With the start of a new year and a string of bad luck behind them, the crew of WNKR set about putting the station on shortwave every weekend.
WNKR came on shortwave regularly, on a regular basis, I believe. If I look at the logbook here, I think we came on almost every weekend from, I think, the 6th of January 1991. And I think we were on every single weekend on either 6275 or 6316, all the way through until, well, it just went on forever. It was going on and on and on for practically a year, I think. I mean, look through the logbook. I mean, the logbook is full up with just broadcasts week after week after week after week, and practically a year. So from right back in January 1991, for almost a year, we were on every single Sunday.
The station had been a shortwave regular for 2 months, with a good signal heard throughout the UK and continental Europe, when Andy Walker came up with an idea for a new programme.
When WNKR first came on shortwave regular, I used to sort of go down there just to sort of be around, really, because, I mean, you know, in those days I was a real anorak. It's just like being around and getting the buzz out of broadcasting, to be honest. And Dave started to put appeals out on the air. If anyone wanted an half-hour programme relayed via WNKR, he'd do it. And to be honest, he had some pretty awful stuff coming. Some real terrible stuff, mostly from the Europeans, the German people, who really weren't geared up to do anything radio, knew really nothing about radio, really amateurish stuff. So I said to him, I think it was around February or March time, I said, how about if I put together an half-hour programme as an experiment, do it for 4 weeks, and call it the Free Radio Show, and we'll play loads of old archive recordings. So he said, yeah, whatever, anything to fill it up, because he was getting a bit desperate, actually. He was tearing his hair out with all this crap that was coming in and putting all this real rubbish out. So I started the Free Radio Show, and basically the rest is history. We started archive recordings and everything, and then it sort of extended from half hour into an hour and became sort of a program with free radio news and all the recordings all plumbed in together. Broadcasting on the 48 metre bands, this is West and North Kent Radio. Welcome along to a brand new season of programmes presented by myself, Andy Walker. It's the Free Radio Show. Going to take trips back in time and play some old and rare recordings from pirate radio stations from the past. So stay with me for the next 30 minutes, will you please? Together with Andy Walker. It was good fun. To my mind, I mean, you know, I've been in sort of doing free radio broadcasting for 19 odd years, and definitely that period, 1991 into early 1992, was I'll never ever forget it. I mean, it was my favourite period of broadcasting. I used to get up on a Sunday morning, drive down to Dave's place, maybe pick up Sam on the way. His mum would make us a bacon sandwich and a cup of tea, and we'd trundle off down the woods with the rig. And put the transmitter on down at the rig, you know, regular as clockwork. We used to march off down there and put the rig on the air. And of course, in those early days, WNKR was live. It was all live, all done from Dave Martin's bedroom with the transmitter in the woods. Now, how did we do that?
How was the programmes done live with the transmitter in the woods? Now, that's a good question. A lot of people commented on that. They said, your programmes sound live. How did you do it? Well, we were live in those days. When we used to run every weekend, we were live. What it was, the transmitter site was about a quarter of a mile away from my mother's house at the time, and I built a link transmitter which was transmitting on around about 190 megahertz wideband FM. We had a receiver which was also on the same frequency, obviously, and our receiver was with the transmitter down the woods, and back at the house was the transmitter running about a quarter of a watt of power, and we just transmitted live to it every weekend and just linked like that, and it made for good broadcasting, I think. But unfortunately, after a while, we had to move, and after that it was no longer possible to go live anymore, so we had to go to tapes again. But I must say, a few people didn't notice the difference to start with.
By the end of 91, the station was considering moving frequency from 6275 kilohertz to the clearer channel of 6400. With the move, a new lineup was introduced, and transmission time was extended from 3 to 4 hours.
Why did we move frequency to 6400? Yes, somebody asked me about that before. What it was 6275. We had these things we called the birdies, the tweeties. People used to keep sort of saying, yeah, 6275's fine, but you keep getting this tweet in the background. And if anyone ever sent us a recording in, you could hear it going tweet all the time, non-stop. So we thought, well, why not go back to the frequency we started on, 6400? So we decided to, instead of just jump up there and leave 6275, we thought we'd put another transmitter on in parallel for a couple of weeks on 6400 and 6275. And then of course came the question from somebody, how are you doing it in parallel if you're doing it live? Are the transmitters at the same place? And I said, well, no, they're not at the same place. They're sort of like about a 10-15 minute walk apart. But we had another link receiver on a little 25 watt battery powered transmitter. So basically, they were both getting the live broadcast from the studio at exactly the same time. So there we were, 6275 and 6400. And once we were sure enough people had made the move, we turned off 6275 and the big transmitter went up to 6400. And the rest, as they say, is history.
We had actually, I think we relaunched the station when we decided to switch to 6400 from 6275. Which was on the, I believe I'm right saying, the 5th of January 1992. We brought in a few other people on a regular basis, i.e. Terry Phillips was to do a regular second Sunday and a fourth Sunday oldies show. the free radio show wasn't going to be on the first Sunday. Instead, we were going to have the International DX report with Adrian Cook, and then the free radio show on the subsequent weeks after that. We also had Uncle Nobby, he used to do programmes on a regular basis, and when Fifth Sundays come around, Bob J would do an hour of his Looney Tunes and everything. So really, when WNKR moved from 6275 to 6400 at the beginning of 92, we sort of repackaged the whole thing, added a few more names, and tried to really spice it up a bit to make it really sound professional. And I think it worked. It really did sound good because we had a real professional sound to it, and instead of being on the 3 hours on the Sunday morning, it was now on the 4 hours, and we had to sit down and record a new super duper mega opening. I'm sure everyone remembers the time is 10 o'clock and welcome to WNKR on 6400 opening. Gosh, that brings back memories. The time is 10 o'clock.
And welcome to WNKR on the mighty 6400.
Dave Martin,
Andy Walker,
Sam the Man,
Terry Phillips,
Adrian Cook,
Uncle Nobby,
and Bob J from now until 2.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
WNKR.
broadcasting from the southeast of England with a power of 20 watts every Sunday. This is WNKR. Our address, P.O. Box 220342 W 5600 Wuppertal 22 in Germany. That's P.O. Box 220342 W 5600 Wuppertal 22 in Germany, enclosing a stamped addressed envelope when writing from the United Kingdom, or one international reply coupon from the rest of Europe.
WNKR.
When we moved from 6275 up to 6400 on that 5th of January, we actually left another smaller transmitter on 6275 with a rather boring loop tape telling everyone that WNKR wasn't on the air on this frequency. We've moved to 6400, and of course we've been in parallel for 2 or 3 weeks as well on both frequencies, and we'd announced well in advance that the thing was going to actually move up to 6400, and a lot of people did join us up there. The amazing thing really was we were still operating on car batteries at the beginning of 92, and doing most of the programs live, with the exception, I think, of the International DX report and the free radio show, which was always taped. I think Bob J used to do his stuff as well. He used to do his on tape. It was amazing the signal we put out in those days, because it was the transmitter, like I say, it was only a battery powered transmitter, and it was only running about 18 watts going up into the aerial. The only reason it sounded very loud and very strong, it probably didn't sound strong when you looked at a signal meter, but on an ordinary radio without a signal meter on it did sound loud and it sounded strong. And it wasn't. It was only because we used to use tons of compression, and the compression with the wideband FM link made the whole thing sound extremely strong and extremely powerful, when in fact it was only 18 watts.
From the southeast of England, these are the shortwave outlaws on 6400 kilohertz. This is WNKR.
I mean, of course, once we were no longer able to use the site where we could run live from and link, doing the programs actually became a bit of a problem, because we didn't all want to travel down to where we had before and put tape programs on and keep changing the car battery, because we used to have to run it off a car battery all the time, and it was becoming a bit of a pain. So I decided to look for a site where we could get mains. So I went out on my motorbike, I looked on maps and things, I looked for wooded areas near places that would have power, and after a long search of an area covering many miles, I managed to find a place which would be very suitable. It had a road not very far away from it and a nice lamppost, and Sam the Man went down there and with his donkey jacket on, took the cover of the lamppost off, plumbed the wire in, run it up a hill, and we used to go down on a Sunday and we'd plug straight into it, and great, no more carrying batteries anywhere. It was brilliant. I mean, just go down there, plug the biggest transmitter we could find, plug it in, you know, and free for nothing. Great it was, brilliant. And we carried on like that, and as a matter of fact, it's exactly what we're still doing now. I can't tell you where though.
At the end of March, WNKR moved to a new transmission site. It was around this time that the station started a new service on 76 metres and joined the now regular 3 MHz broadcaster, Radio Fax.
Why did we join Fax down on 76 metres? Well, we didn't actually. We didn't join Fax down on 76 metres at all. In fact, this is a little known, but it can actually be substantiated, I believe, by the Pirate Chat editor, who has got some logs on computer and can prove this. Radio Fax did, in fact, join us down on 76 metres. I'd been toying with the idea of trying to find a new band to use for free radio, finding that 6 megs was getting rather congested at the time, which might sound a bit odd, seeing as the way propagation is at the moment, but I decided we needed something for nighttime broadcasting, which would cover all of Europe, and I looked at sort of frequencies that would make it possible, and came up with 76 metres, which is the tropical band, and I found that it is licensed in Europe, but it's very much underused. So I think it was, I set about building a transmitter, actually modified one of our small medium wave ones, I think, and we set about doing a test on 3945 kilohertz, which at the time was not used by anybody at all, not even Vatican. So on the 31st of January 1992, I fired the transmitter up at night, late one night, and did a test, and wasn't heard by anybody. I don't think anyone was listening. But after that, I did a test on the 1st and the 2nd of February 1992 on 3945, and that one was heard. So was the next one, which was on 23rd of February 1992. That was 30 watts this time with a new transmitter, which I decided to build, and that one was heard in Nottingham by old Bill Lewis. So we decided then to give it a go. By this time we'd found our new site, our new mains powered site, which we'd been running 400 kilohertz from for a couple of weeks by that time, and we decided to go down and stick a rather large dipole up, which we did, and we started in earnest on the 23rd of February on 3945. After that, we did it a few times, put 3945 out, and although we were quite happy with the way the signal was sort of going, propagating, and how it sounded, we were getting absolutely no response at all for it. And I was sort of saying on 48 metres at the time, I was saying, well, look, nobody's been writing in, nobody's been responding to it. We're gonna give it a miss. We're gonna pack it in. We're all ready to just forget about it. And the next week, Media Network on Radio Netherlands was on, and they made comments about us being on 3945, and also about Radio Fax, who've now also started on 76 metres on 3910, and they made mention of the fact that we were broadcasting down there, so this made us think twice about it. And also, that same week, Radio Fax started to give us a mention on their own programmes as well.
I remember getting a frantic phone call one Thursday afternoon from Dave Martin. He said, Media Network have just plugged us on the air. So I said, what do you mean they've just plugged us? Oh, they've just mentioned the 3945 broadcast. He said, we got to put something on this Saturday night. Can you do a show? So I said, I'll put a programme together. And of course on the Monday on the Sparks programme, Sparks on Radio Fax, they'd also mentioned that the WNKR was transmitting on 3945. And then on a Thursday, of course, Media Network actually mentioned it, and I mean, it was an opportunity not to be missed, really. I mean, 2 mega plugs on two of the biggest shortwave stations in Europe, so I mean, we weren't going to look a gift horse in the mouth, were we?
As far as 3945 kilohertz is concerned, well, I did some listening at the weekend, so did about 4 callers to our answer line. We conclude that you've been listening to a hobby pirate radio station based in Kent in the southeast of England. Station WNKR uses 3945 kilohertz in the European evening hours, usually at weekends, and on Sunday mornings also pops up on 6400 kilohertz. The station hires out its transmitter to other people who want to get on the airwaves, and that's what you heard. Contributor Judith Hermans reports that the station announces an address in Wuppertal in Germany, but the transmission certainly doesn't come from there.
So So we thought, well, as soon as we've had 2 fantastic free plugs, we'll give it another go. So we carried on, and every weekend when we put 48 metres on, the night before we put 3945 on, and it just seemed to take off from there. After that, we were getting, letter upon letter, we were getting hundreds of letters each month coming through, and the majority of them were then for 3945 for 76 metres. So that continued for quite a while, and I think the only reason it stopped was because somebody stole some of the equipment, basically. We turned up one morning to find that it was dead, and I believe that somebody had actually stolen the tape machine.
From the southeast of England, these are the Radio Outlaws. This is WNKR.
And that sort of held us back for a while. We didn't really know what to do because we weren't sure if we could continue from the same place, knowing that somebody knew where we were. So after sort of getting through problems like antennas falling down and tape machines breaking and that, it was a bit sort of disheartening that somebody now knew where we were and that they'd taken the transmitter.
WNKR, moving into the 21st century.
But one Saturday night I'd gone down and put the 3945 on my own, and everything seemed to be okay. I noticed that the transmitter didn't load up quite as normal, but anyway, it seemed to sound okay. So I left it, got on the motorbike, went home, came back here, I couldn't hear it. I thought, my God, what's happened? You know, I mean, it was working okay when I left it, but why can't I hear it here? I was only about 8 miles away from the site. So I hummed and hawed, and I got back on the motorbike, shot down there, by which time it was nearly 10 o'clock at night and it was dark. And I got down there and unplugged the aerial from the transmitter, put a swirl meter in line, and the SWR was horrendous, it was really high, so I thought, well, maybe there's a break in the aerial somewhere. So I pulled the aerial down, and I found a break in the wire, so I'm repairing it, bodging it up basically with a terminal block. I'm standing in the middle of these woods in the pitch dark, all on my own, thinking every single noise that went on, whereas an animal went through the undergrowth, I think, God, there's somebody here. All of a sudden, somebody comes up behind me and taps me on the shoulder. I nearly died. I jumped 10 foot in the air. I mean, I practically put the aerial back up near myself there. I just jumped up in the air, turned around, and it was Terry Phillips. Oh, my God, what are you doing here? You nearly killed me. Give me a heart attack. Apparently, he was coming back from the Kent coast area, and he realised that it wasn't on, but as he got near this site and with his car shortwave radio on, he found he could just hear it. So he stopped and gave me the fright of my life, basically. Oh, I've never forgiven him for that, really.
When WNKR was on 3945, we all used to sort of operate a shift system to go down there and put the rig on a Saturday night. Like one week it'd be myself with Dave Martin, and another week it'd be Terry Phillips. And on one particular week, I remember Nobby said, Uncle Nobby, one of our DJs, said he would go down and help Dave Martin put the 3945 rig on. Now that's a tale and a half, I tell you.
There's another sort of not so amusing story of a rather bit of silliness that happened. Every station has its idiots, and unfortunately WNKR had Uncle Nobby. And Saturday evening, we were down the site, getting ready to put the 3945 on, and Uncle Nobby, it was his turn to come and give me a hand. Now, the way it was all wired up, there was 2 boxes, the transmitter, the power supply, and then that plugged into the mains lead and plugged into the lamppost. Now, all the leads were colour-coded. They were all... You weren't supposed to be able to connect them up wrong. They could only be connected one way. But somehow, Uncle Nobby managed to connect the transmitter, which was supposed to be connected to a 500 volt power supply and 12 volts. He managed to plug it straight into 240 volt mains. It was a rather loud bang, and the transmitter blew up. I immediately went over and hit Uncle Nobby around the head and knocked him to the floor. And we went home, and I set about fixing the transmitter. Needless to say, we didn't come on that weekend.
Yeah, that's who you got. You got me, Uncle Nobby, on WNKR 91.8 FM. And here's the Shirelles, and one called Mama Said. It's the Shirelles from year of... Oh, I've forgotten. It's a good start, isn't it? Anyway, there's one called Mama Said. That's the B-side, I do believe, of the recently released Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which was also on a TV advert for British Gas. So there you go. And I keep saying there you go again. Never mind, you got Uncle Nobby on WNKR 91.8 FM. And here is Jefferson Airplane on one called White Rabbit.
WNKR.
WNKR had now become one of Europe's established free radio broadcasters, with professional sounding programs and jingles, and it even had a theme tune.
The theme tune, Magic Fly. How did I pick it? Well, what's the story behind Magic Fly? Well, the story behind Magic Fly is that there isn't really a story behind it. It's just that I thought every great station has a theme tune. So I thought if we want to get great, we should have a theme tune. Make it sound more professional. I've always been one for sort of trying to get it sounding a bit professional. So I thought what we need is a tune that sort of builds up, starts off and builds up, and comes to a sort of a good end, ends on a high point as opposed to fading away. And I flicked through a cheap compilation album I found, and I found this track called Magic Fly by Space. And I just liked the way it went, and that was it basically. I just liked the way it sounded, so we tried it out and it's stuck with us ever since, really. The jingles. How we got the jingles, the Bill Mitchell jingles, is that Bill Mitchell never actually did WNKR jingles for us. Bill Mitchell didn't do any WNKR jingles for anybody. We actually made them. He did. I mentioned earlier on about a station called North Kent Radio. They paid Bill Mitchell to do some gruff voice NKR jingles for them, and I borrowed or stole a copy of those off of them. And a friend of mine, Steve May, he had some old jingles from some other stations, and he had the copies of a station that was going to come on here but never did, WRLI, and they'd had some Bill Mitchell jingles done as well. Now we tried to remove the W from LWR's Bill Mitchell jingles, but it didn't fit, so we removed the W from the WRLI jingles and stuck it on the front of the NKR ones, and then WNKR was born. I mean, really, they're so perfect for it, we could have almost made the name up to match the jingles, really, but that's not exactly how it happened, but that's how we got the jingles, the W from WRLI and the NKR from North Kent Radio, and the rest of them were just like standard ones that he'd done for everybody else, for them to stick his version of their station names in front of, or afterwards, and we just put them all together and never paid a penny for them, basically. Been using them ever since.
WNKR. 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 WNKR.
When we talk of jingles, we can't forget Bob J. Bob J is a very important member of the station, one of the most creative DJs I know. As you will no doubt appreciate, having listened to his 2 programmes this weekend. He's done quite a few jingles for us here on WNKR, and some of them are very humorous to say the least. One in particular that Andy Walker uses, I think, without the aid of a safety net. It's quite amazing how he does it, and the equipment he uses is so basic, it's unbelievable how he gets the effect.
And now, without the aid of a safety net, it's the Andy Walker Show! Yes, who wakes you up at the weekend with the very best music?
Andy Walker.
Who wakes you up at the weekend with a big, broad smile on your face?
Andy Walker.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wakey, wakey, you horrible lot, and tune to the Andy Walker Breakfast Show. Only on WNKR.
Music just for you.
Pirate stations come and pirate stations go. That's why, still after 4 years, Western North Kent Radio continues to entertain you with the very best in adult-orientated music and golden oldies. You're listening to WNKR. WNKR.
Thank you, Bob. And without your jingles, we just sound like every other boring shortwave station.
There is a tape kicking about, actually, of Bob J trying to do a promotion when we did a month on medium wave Saturday afternoon, when Capital Gold was sort of programming football in the afternoon between 3 and 6. We came on AM as an experiment. To try and sort of steal some listeners and to provide some musical entertainment. And there's this tape knocking about of Bob trying to do this promotion, does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men kicking a lump of pigskin around a football field, something like that. And he took so many takes in doing it because he had Dave Martin and Nobby in the studio, and all there was this laughing and farting. I mean, he just couldn't get it right.
Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men?
No, shut up.
This time. 3, 2, 1. Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men running around the field kicking a lump of pigskin?
Start again. No, let's try from here. We'll do the cuts. 3, 2, 1.
Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men running around the field kicking a lump of pigskin? 3, 2, 1. Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 3?
Wanker, you can't do. Fuck off. Go out the room. Go out the room. Go out the room. That's it.
Does your Saturday afternoon Right, the serious take now. 3, 2, 1. Does your Saturday afternoon mean running?
I've got it now.
3, 2.
No, you don't have to go. I've got it. I've definitely got it.
3, 2, 1. Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men running around the field kicking a lump?
Oh, I can't do it.
There we go. Oh, let's get it this second. 3, 2, 1. Does your Saturday afternoon mean watching 22 semi-naked men running around a field kicking a lump of pigskin? Well, mine certainly doesn't. Saturday afternoon, I tune to Western North Kent Radio on 1494 medium wave.
Long last.
Even today when I hear that tape, I'm absolutely in tears with laughter.
WNKR, the sound of the 90s.
Genesis, and I know what I like in your wardrobe. I just this somebody just rung up. This isn't this bit of paper, Ray Wilkes. Does he? I didn't really know. Oh no, hang on, that's Ray Wiltshire. He just rung up and he's belting him down there. In Wiltshire, I just looked through the whole of the record collection here in the WNKR library. I looked at all the compilation LPs, must be dozens of them, and you realise not one of them's got a Madonna track on it. So sorry, Albert, over there in Cardiff, can't play you one. Let's play, I've got queued up this one. This is Metal Guru. It's hosted by Mark Bolan and T-Rex. Right, that's a lot for me today. This is the last of the Dave Martin show for this week. I'll be back next Sunday on WNKR 600, so stay tuned. Right, the phone lines are now shut. So if you didn't ring, you're too late. If you did, thanks very much. And please carry on listening, because coming up in a very short minute is the Andy Walker Free Radio Show. As a matter of fact, he's just come to studio now, and here he is.
Good morning, everyone. It's a minute past 11. Well, it should be. That's what the clock on the wall says. And welcome along to the Free Radio Show on the mighty 6400 with WNKR. Andy Walker back in the hot seat once again. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone that's rung me during the course of the week. Asked me about the shenanigans on board the Galaxy last Saturday night, and those of you that heard the programme last week found it thoroughly interesting, even though I was falling asleep while doing it.
Sam show live here on WNKR, and that was Coming Under Fire. This is a track from the 70s. It's by Nazareth. It's called Bad Bad Boy.
I've had a lot of fun doing WNKR over the last few years. One of the most amusing moments, I suppose, one of the more amusing moments is when all of us, I mean the whole WNKR crew, went to an RFM Christmas party. Now, RFM was a land-based FM station here in London. They used to broadcast on Sundays rock music, and they decided to throw this Christmas party for all their faithful listeners. And we all turned up mob-handed, and we took over the whole event.
Another story that springs to mind is something happened just after we'd started on shortwave. Christmas 1990. We were invited to a party. The station was invited to a party at the Market Porter pub in near London Bridge in London, obviously. And it was the RFM Christmas party. Now, RFM were a big pirate station in London who had misguidedly gone off air in the vain hopes of getting a licence, and they were having this party to promote themselves and to let all their faithful listeners sort of come along and worship them, basically. But we turned up mob-handed with our WNKR t-shirts on and started handing out fly sheets for the station, and then basically we took the whole proceedings over. And I think that some of the RFM jocks got a little bit upset about it all, but yeah, quite a bit of fun there. And apparently most of the photographs that were taken at that event contained at least one or two WNKR t-shirted DJs in the foreground. But I found that quite funny, actually, especially seeing as they disappeared, but we still continued.
From the southeast of England, these are the Shortwave Outlaws on 6400 kilohertz. This is WNKR.
By the summer of '92, members of the WNKR staff were getting restless, unreliable, and tired of the long journey to the site every week. As Andy Walker explains,
I'd said to Dave Martin in the July, I think it was, of '92, that I said, you know, I'm going to give it a couple of more months, and then that's it. I'm going to pack it in. I'm fed up with running around, and I was fed up with doing the free radio show every week. I'd been doing it for over a year, solid every week, producing an hour program that went out the once a week, and it took hours to put together. So the offshore radio thing came along in the summer of '92, and at the end of that, I was offered a slot on Chris England's Euronet satellite radio station. So I thought, well, this is great, and I sadly left WNKR in the September of 1992. sound, 1969, and the Broken-Hearted Pirates. The last tune played on the free radio show, except for this. The theme. It has been the theme for the free radio show for the last 18 months. Wow. A touch of velvet and a stinger brass by the Mood Mosaic. I think my brain has finally given up and died. WNKR, Post Office Box 220342, W5600, Wuppertal 22 in Germany is the address to write to support Dave Martin and the rest of the fellas that are still running this radio station. It will continue on a monthly basis, once a month. It will be on the first Sunday in the month. And the next broadcast will be on the 1st of November. Only because you people out there aren't sending in the amount of mail that we would like. In fact, no free radio station is getting the amount of mail that it would like. Even Radio Orion, that has been on the air regular almost every week for 6.5 years, has now gone to a monthly station because they are not receiving the amount of mail that they should for broadcasting every week. Even though I don't think Radio Orion is much cop, it is not the point. That's why WNKR is going to go monthly. You're not supporting it, so therefore it is not going on the air every week. That is one of the reasons I am packing it in today, because there is no point in me knocking out my guts for 2 or 3 hours a week putting a program together to put on the air, to risk my neck a heavy fine, and all the aggravation that goes along with putting out a pirate radio transmission for letters that just aren't worth an hand job. So support free radio or it's going to go, I tell you. WNKR, Post Office Box 220342, W5600, Wuppertal 22 in Germany is the address. Self-stamped addressed envelopes for a reply, or 2 international reply coupons from abroad, please. We can't afford the postage. This has been Andy Walker for the last time on WNKR and the free radio show, an anorak program that has been dedicated to all anoraks, wherever you are.
Yeah, a lot of people say, why did we stop coming on regularly? Why did we stop coming on each weekend? Why did we become irregular? Well, there's only really one answer to that, and that is apathy. Apathy rules UK. As usual, the biggest problem in the UK, apathy struck again. Everybody became sort of rather pissed off, to put it bluntly. Andy Walker was offered a better job, as they say. He was offered the position of the big mouth of the South on radio, on Euronet, on the satellite. He wanted to put himself about a bit and be heard by more people. Although I'm not quite sure if that's possible or not. I think it was probably debatable whether he was being heard by more people or less people on satellite, but he went off there. Sam the dog, he sort of became a bit unreliable at the time, and we couldn't really sort of tie him down, if you pardon the expression, as they say. I think everyone was getting a bit fed up with going down to the site and putting it on every Sunday and hanging about and all this lark. So I decided to keep sort of carrying on my own. And that's what I did. I tried to carry on as best as I could. Things were a bit of a problem with just one person. So I roped in a young gentleman called Martin C. of London FM pirate radio fame. And on his first programme for us on WNKR, he managed to cause one of the biggest stirs we've ever had. He went on air and talked about what was happening in and around London on the FM scene, and he gave some interesting information about how a station had been raided, and that anyone connected with the station had also been raided. And he said that an engineer had had a visit from the police and the Department of Trade and Industry, and he gave his name. I must admit, he only actually said his first name, but this absolutely upset the person involved, and he was most upset. He was threatening us. He managed to get hold of the phone number. He was threatening me down the phone. Oh, it was terrible. He was going to do all sorts of things to me. He really was. If you believed everything that he told me, I should have left the country. I should have emigrated. But as it turned out, when I finally met this person, he was a bit of a wimp. Poor old Roger the engineer was so small and bald, and, well, not bald, but I'll tell you what, he looks at, you take a quick glance at him, he looks about 15, but he's actually about 55, and it's such a wimp. And when I sort of questioned him about it, and fronted him about it, he sort of backed down rather quickly. But like I say, Martin C definitely brought some spice to the station, which had been missing since Andy Walker had left.
Yeah, that particular incident did cause a bit of a stir. I had a phone call, I think it was on the Monday afternoon, from Trevor Brook at Radio Fax, who had said this engineer had been on the phone and something had been said on WNKR on the Sunday, and didn't I know anything about it? And I said, no. I said, I left last week. So I rang up Dave Martin and I said, oh, you're in trouble now.
So I struggled on my own as best as I could with limited assistance, I must admit, and I didn't have a car at the time either, just a motorbike. Everything used to have to go in the panniers on the motorbike and travel off down to the site with a car battery. Well, I didn't have to have a car battery in those days, luckily, but everything else was on the bike. And I continued like that until April, when Andy Walker was sacked. Oh, sorry, no, he wasn't sacked. The unit folded, basically. And this is also after he left Radio Fax as well, which, and I think basically because Fax just couldn't take the heat and they shut down. There you go, Trevor, all right. And he came back and he begged me, he said, please let me join again. Can we start up again? And I said, well, you're not going to go leaving me in the lurch, can I? He said, no. So we came back on around about April 93 with a new improved transmitter. Well, it was actually one of Andy Walker's, which we'd suitably modified to make it sound acceptable in the WNKR sense of the word, that is.
After Euronet had closed, I had to go back to Dave Martin on my knees and lick his boots and say, come on, let's do radio again. I had to eat large doses of humble pie, I'll tell you.
Western North Kent Radio.
After a long period of WNKR being silent, the station returned to the air in the summer of '94, again on a regular basis.
Why are we back on now? Well, we're back on now because what happened was I had a phone call from a certain person in the Midlands of England who said that a certain station has been raided just recently. Would you be interested in relaying them, seeing as you're not doing much else with your equipment? And no funny remarks on that comment. And I said, well, yeah, okay, I'm interested. I'll do that. So got in touch with the people involved, which turned out to be Angel International, and we started relaying them. And I was thinking to myself, it seems a pity that I'm coming down here each weekend to put them on for 2 hours. Maybe I ought to do something of my own again. So I thought, well, I'll put an hour or so of myself on the tape. So I did that once and called that Magnum, back with the really, really old name from the FM days, back before 87. And did that once, and the following week I thought, well, it'd be nice to do WNKR again. So we did that, and Andy Walker said to me, I'll do a show for you. We'll do 2 hours, do an hour each. So I said, all right. So we had 2 hours of Angel going out, and then 2 hours of WNKR. Then I was sort of thinking to myself, I don't really want to hang about for 4 hours with all this going. So we started putting it on at night and leaving it on all night, Saturday night, all the way through till Sunday morning, and sometimes leave it on all the way till Sunday night. And that continued every week up until now. It's just carried on like that. And even with the loss of one transmitter a couple of weekends ago, we're still continuing. So, and here we are now on our 4th birthday celebration on shortwave.
I must openly confess I'm enjoying being back on the radio again every week. I'll enjoy it until I get pissed off again. Which could be any time, knowing me, but no, it's fun doing it again. I mean, WNKR, it's a bloody popular station. And just hope we're around for a few more months yet,
How long will it continue? I suppose until we get fed up again, really, or until we lose another transmitter. It will continue forever and ever until something stops us, or until we get completely fed up. I can't actually imagine a day when I won't actually be transmitting somewhere along the line on some frequency or another. But we'll let you know when it happens, as soon as it happens. But until then, we'll be here every Sunday on 6400. A quick look round the dial, see what's going on.
Returning to your radio sets, WNKR is back.
For crying out loud, I can't get them on my portable. Tune into Japan and there they are.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside.
WNKR 6400 kilohertz.
WNKR.
Broadcasting from the southeast of England with a power of 50 watts on shortwave. This is WNKR. If you'd like a QSL report for this broadcast, write to WNKR, PO Box 220342 D-42373 Wuppertal in Germany.
WNKR. Take it from me. Nobody does it better. Our favorite radio station, WNKR. WNKR. Amazing. WNKR. If it's too loud, you're too old. Solid as a rock.
WNKR, 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 WNKR.
WNKR beats making lager commercials. Returning to your radio sets. WNKR is back. Is back. Is back. Is back. Is back. Is back. WNKR.
Southeast of England, these are the shortwave outlaws on 6400 kilohertz. This is WNKR.
The WNKR story was produced and compiled by Andy Walker and narrated by Adrian Cook. Copyright WNKR 1994. Not that we've ever bothered about copyright in the past.
WNKR.